Jörg is the managing partner at Value of Bitcoin Advisors. Welcome Jörg Hermsdorf to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. When I created or presented the idea of Bitcoin being a new element in the periodic table in 2020, I did it with a touch of lightheartedness. Yeah? I wanted to playfully trigger or challenge intellectually capable people who had dismissed Bitcoin in the previous 11 years for something being purely virtual and therefore irrelevant to their life and not worth their time. And I tried to come from a mental model everybody is used to from school, meaning the periodic system of elements, and said, hey, did you know that we found a new element, but it's not where you expected. It's in the top right corner of the periodic table. And I gave a solid argumentation, I think, why you could see it that way. And in essence, I said, Bitcoin is as real as gold or rhodium or any other of the elements people might value because of its relationship to thermodynamics and its adherence to thermodynamics, even if you can't touch it. And back then I left people with the thought that Bitcoin is not only maybe good money today, but it will be around for a very, very long time, even if the technology to interact with it will probably change and evolve. So maybe it's a good idea to give Bitcoin a second look or a closer look and see if there's some truth to my words. I also hinted to the idea that Bitcoin's nature doesn't only limit it to human interaction, but potentially future AIs or other intelligences might participate in the Bitcoin network as well due to its scientific soundness, open permissionless, and stable existence. And I didn't expect that talking about these non-human uses of Bitcoin would become such a broadly interesting topic so soon. But here we are, 4 years later, and many people ask me on my opinion on the intersection of Bitcoin and artificial intelligence. So first of all, I would like to clarify that I think that the term artificial intelligence is not really appropriate for the neural networks that we see today, and that many people maybe confuse intelligence with knowledge as they confuse money and currency. But for me, I would like the term artificial intelligence or AI to be reserved for a real future intelligence may ever emerge. But since so many people are now used to the word AI and the AI hype, it happens to me that I sometimes use AI as well, but I mean it in the term of alleged intelligence. Yeah? It's not that I want to discredit the achievements. There went a tremendous amount of human intelligence into creating these models, but the thing you interact with in the end does not yield any intelligence yet. So, yeah, you may have experienced this yourself by using these tools which are available. I want to share with you a depicting example of the lack of OpenAI's intelligence I struggled with recently. Let's take this two-dimensional map of reality many people have in their head from school. And there's one problem with it. It shows you, OK, these are the elements are there, but it doesn't really reveal the underlying nature of the periodicity of the elements. So why are there only 2 elements in the first group? Why are there 8 elements in the second and third group? And so on. And for well over 200 years, there have been ideas floating around that the reason or the root cause for the periodicity is in some higher dimensional math, maybe, including the intriguing quantum atom theory, which takes one dimension as time dilation and forms an imaginary helical spiral, which orders the elements. And this is causing then certain properties. So I find it intriguing to think outside the box, outside of the school models we have. And I wanted to combine this idea into a new thinking on Bitcoin and help people find a new perspective. So I asked OpenAI, can we combine these ideas from quantum atom theory with ElementZero and other stuff? But I gave up after 2 days because there's no amount of prompt engineering I could do to really make OpenAI understand what I mean. So I ended up drawing a sketch myself, and I created this image and uploaded it to OpenAI and explained what I want. I just want a nice image of it because I'm not a super good graphics designer. And I said, OK, on the right side, this is physical reality. Let's assume a nature like quantum atom theory, but not start with hydrogen. Let's use ElementZero Bitcoin in the middle at the intersection between thermodynamically sound virtual reality. And this should help people to think of Bitcoin not only as money, which is of use in the physical reality, but that for us software architects, Bitcoin has a special meaning and then new capabilities in the virtual domain. So one of these higher elements that could exist in the virtual reality are some things like you may have heard single-use seals, which the RGB network uses, HTLCs, which the Lightning network uses. So there will be many possibilities in the future based on top of Bitcoin. And yeah, OpenAI just couldn't generate a nice image. This is what you get for $20 a month. So it's, yeah, you could call it art, fiction, coherent fiction at least, but no intelligence, unfortunately. So in another keynote earlier this year, I proposed that we might have to redefine intelligence in the era of large language models and large generative pre-trained transformers, GPTs as they are called, by coming from a first principles approach, precisely starting at the fundamental laws of thermodynamics, which are immutable, and combining the idea that any intelligence must adhere to these laws, and intelligence is actually surviving in a universe that wants you to be dead. Yeah? That the universe is striving to chaos, to high entropy, and intelligence is maintaining and growing pockets of order, pockets of low entropy. And then this relates to, of course, having a sovereign control over a certain amount of energy for any process to be called intelligent. And we could use the idea from the Kardashev scale, which classifies intelligences or civilizations by the amount of energy they use for computation, that we could classify intelligences or artificial intelligence by the average amount of energy they have under sovereign control without blowing themselves up or depleting their energy resources by maintaining some sort of order or systems of order they are responsible for. And I see Bitcoin as a critical piece in the puzzle to an emerging real artificial intelligence one day, because Bitcoin brings the laws of thermodynamics into cyberspace where AI is rooted. Anyway, our attempts to create artificial intelligence brought us a new era of computing, or of human-machine interaction. That is really here to stay. In the last 100 years, we basically went from punched hole cards we fed into machines to later then keyboard-based command prompts. Then we had the era of personal computing with graphical user interfaces emerging, later to wearable devices like handheld devices with touch interfaces, and now we have good natural language processing in various forms, in text and voice. And each of these evolutions brought computing to an exponentially bigger audience. So consider this, the simple questions: how many seconds am I? It required computation 100 years ago, it requires computation today, and it will require computation in the future. But until recently, computation or access to computation always required a certain experience, a certain training to be available, even if people had the technical capabilities. But we are entering a stage now, or arrived at a stage now, where even child with just a few years of natural language training have access to basic computing. And this is a shift nobody can ignore. And it's crucial to consider to survive in the market, especially for Bitcoiners and Bitcoin companies. So you need to embrace the natural language processing and maybe ask yourself the question, what service do I want to offer to others? And can I do it through natural language? I'm not saying that human interface design will become obsolete, but it will probably become secondary towards offering data and access to data and to knowledge through natural language. So level up and master this new era of human-machine interaction. We're still early in this era, and I see a lot of opportunities for Bitcoiners and Bitcoin companies. So natural language is so powerful that we see exploding demand everywhere. And I know you're all familiar with an existing, or it brought a certain business model and certain operating model, which is basically the big tech companies who are racing for who has the biggest model with the most parameters and the largest context that it can process, just to justify the high training costs. However, this model has significant, I would say, limitations or issues in privacy and freedom of thought. So there are other options on the horizon that might be the preferred long-term solution, especially for Bitcoiners. And we are witnessing this in the form of decentralized markets of interconnected GPTs and large language models. So we have competitive open source models now. The costs of training such models can be shared. There can be federated or distributed training of these models. You will have public verifiable training data and public verifiable bias, where you can select from what fits you best. Model inference, if you don't know this term, inference is the word you say when you have a ready model and send it a query, and it computes or generates a response. This is called inference. And it doesn't have to be all in the cloud in a supercomputer. Hybrid inference means you have maybe like a small language model which understands language well but is not so knowledgeable. It understands your question and realizes, oh, I need some experts to make a good answer. And RAG is meant as retrieval augmented generation, that it retrieves this knowledge from external agent, other models, and locally compiles a good response. This allows for a local conversation history with these models as well. So you have good privacy, because the context of what you actually want to know or do never leaves your machine. And we will also see different monetization models that or maybe pay-as-you-go payments, because not everybody on the planet has access to credit cards or can even afford a subscription to this new technology for $20 a month. That's a lot of money for many people. So there will be other monetization models. And this heterogeneous market of cooperatively competing players requires a global, low-friction medium of exchange that can do real-time microtransactions. And I see Bitcoin as the only solution for that problem, not only in theory, but luckily there are already emerging standards like the L42 protocol. So you may all have used Lightning with somebody. So you scan or generate a QR code and show it another human. But how does it work from machine to machine or from agent to agent? So let me show you an example. Let's assume we have an agent, an autonomous model here on the left in the image, and it encounters another agent on the web and asks for a weather prediction, maybe. And It will receive, according to the L402 standard, it will receive an error response. It's a 402 error, and which basically says, I won't do anything unless you pay me. And it includes a so-called macaroon. Macaroon is like a web cookie, but it's cryptographically signed by the issuer. And then, according to an open source library which exists, it's called LangChain Bitcoin, the requesting agent knows, oh, there's a Lightning invoice in this macaroon. And it would cost me 1,000 sats maybe to get this answer. That's maybe a bit too expensive for my budget, so let's see if I find someone else. Maybe encounters another agent who speaks the same open protocol, which offers a summary of the weather for maybe just 50 sats. And then it can, thanks to LangChain Bitcoin integration, it can easily pay the Lightning invoice over the Lightning network, receive a pre-image for that payment, and send it together with the macaroon back to the serving agent. And he can verify the macaroon and say, oh, yeah, this was issued by me. And there's only one possibility that the requesting agent knows the pre-image. He must have paid the Lightning invoice. So I'm happy to continue with my computation, which costs energy, and maybe costs 49 cents, but that's fine for me because I know I got paid 50, or not 49 cents, but 49 sats. That's fine for me because I got paid 50 sats already, and I make 1 sat profit on serving that request. So, and this is actually how AI will start accumulating sats, because it not only applies to the models we see right now in the technology, but also to a potential future where we have real artificial intelligences, because I strongly believe that knowledge and expertise will always be distributed. So there will be competing real artificial intelligences one day, and not just one super intelligent, so to say. Yeah, there's already examples of that. I want to highlight Blab AI, which is a market of people or of service providers who offer open source models for inference. And there's an app, it's called Current, which is an integrated Lightning wallet and Nostr client, where you can easily pay these remote models and AI agents in a pay-per-request manner. So it costs usually the first 5 requests are for free, and the next requests then cost some sats. I also would like to highlight Prem Labs, who's a great company who's driving this hybrid inference further, and this open sourcing of models. And they have a really great blog where they discuss new developments in the space and how everything is interconnected. So check this out. The least everybody of you could do is play with these open source models. There's a great tool called GPT for All, for example. And where you can download various models and execute them locally on your machine. So no information is sent out to the cloud. It's great if you have sensitive documents you want to work on locally. These are really helpful. So last but not least, if you're interested in new developments in Bitcoin companies and or other companies in Bitcoin-related technologies, there's a growing network of Bitcoiners called the Value of Bitcoin network, where we meet regularly, bi-weekly, and Bitcoiners exchange with other Bitcoiners about failures or successes in implementing Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related ideas in their organizations. So yeah, check that out. There's quite a few interesting companies and Bitcoiners working in these companies already part of the network. So thanks all. Have a great time here at BTC Prague, and see you.